Welcome to the regular meeting of the South Haven City Council. Today is Monday, August 18th, 2025. This meeting's called to order. Tonight's invocation is by Pastor Antoinette Cox of Lily of the Valley Church.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Shall we pray? Dear God, our Heavenly Father, we're thankful and grateful on this evening that you've allowed us the opportunity once again to gather here to make decisions, oh God, that would be beneficial to our community. We are praying for your wisdom and your guidance as we bring important agenda matters before this city council. We pray for your direction and your protection for our mayor, our city manager, each city person and each city council person, the admin team, our first responders, and all those that make up the city of South Haven. We acknowledge, Lord, that we need your help. May every decision that's made be made with integrity and fairness and with an honest commitment to the well-being of all the citizens of South Haven. And Lord, these blessings we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Megan, could we have a roll call, please?
Of course. Jeff Arnold.
Here.
Mary Hosley.
Here.
Wendy Onuki. Here. Joe Reeser.
Here.
George Sleeper.
Here.
Letitia Wilkins.
Here.
Annie Brown.
Here. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. It's now time for a community update, and we have a proclamation to read. Whereas farmers markets play a vital role in providing access to fresh, locally grown produce and other agricultural products, supporting the health and well-being of our communities, and
Whereas farmers markets offer a vibrant and inclusive space for education and engagement where individuals can learn about food production, nutrition, and community, and
whereas farmers markets provide consumers with affordable options in their communities and foster relationships between consumers and farmers, enhancing transparency and trust in our food system. And
whereas farmers markets contribute significantly to local economies by creating more new and better market opportunities that allow farmers to sell their products directly to consumers, thereby retaining a greater share of the food dollar within our community. And
whereas farmers markets further USDA's food system transformation framework to build a fairer system that works better for both family farmers and the families they support. And
whereas National Farmers Market Week, held annually, recognizes the important role farmers markets play in our food system and encourages Americans to support local producers by purchasing their products at farmers markets.
now therefore be it resolved to further awareness of farmers markets' essential contributions to American life, I, Mayor Annie Brown, do hereby proclaim the week of August 4th through the 10th, 2025 as National Farmers Market Week. I call upon the City of South Haven to celebrate farmers markets with appropriate observances and activities. And we would like to present our proclamation to Jean Burkert and Brad Adamson. They have done another phenomenal job this summer, and we are so grateful.
cheese? Oh, Joe, you gotta find your window, Joe. There we go. All right, very good, thank you.
Thank you so much. This is for you. Yeah, thank you. And now we have an update from Van Buren County Commissioner Gail Patterson Gladney.
Hello. Thank you for your time and attention. And I have some updates. I mentioned before that we have changed our Van Buren County Committee of the Whole and Board of Commissioners meeting from Tuesday to Monday, September 8th. So I just wanted to mention that again. Also, the Parks and Recreation Commission is changed to that same date, September 8th. We usually have it right before, at 11 o'clock, before the other two meetings. Okay, also, the Van Buren Community Mental Health Authority on Hazen Street, there is a Veterans Garden, and some of you might know about that. And they said that all the vegetables are available for the community. So if you want some eggplant or whatever they're raising, I haven't checked it out, you can go over there, and they said 24/7 is open. So we thank our veterans for doing that for the community. Also, if they're at the mental health building, if anyone needs naloxone, you can go, they have a dispenser right before you go into the building, in the foyer, I guess, and if you need that, so in case someone overdoses, that's something that is available and free of charge. We are going to, at the county, present a proclamation to Bessie Boyd. She will be 100 years old on September 14th of this year. And she has also been awarded different proclamations from different organizations in the past. She's been recognized not only by her family and church, but formally in the community on Women's History Day in 2004. So when you are 100 years old and have been doing good in your community for a long time, you get to get these different proclamations and recognitions. I think that South Haven is sort of like a blue zone. We have so many 100-year-old residents. So I think the city of South Haven is going to be giving her a proclamation also. Okay, we had a public hearing for fiscal year 2025-2026 county budget, and that budget has to be adopted by the end of September. On August 26th, we will review the final budget for all funds, policies, and capital improvement plans. And then September 8th, we will formally adopt it, and the amount of the budget so far is $32,112,950 approximately. And it has increased about 5% from last year. There have been Palisade drills. I don't know if you've heard about those. You probably have, yes, or your city manager. They have to be passed in order for Palisades to continue on in the process of opening up the plant and to proceed forward. And I'm sure George Sleeper knows about that too. Okay. We have applied for housing program. Funding for rehabbing houses is about $400,000. So we approved the housing rehab grant, and there's going to be $400,000 for that, and then $72,000 for administrative funds is going to be appropriated if we get the grant. We were invited to apply, so it's a high probability that we could do that. And we're anticipating maybe 23 houses can be rehabbed, and that's countywide. Market 1 is going to be the administrator of the funds. And the awards will be announced around September 29th or October 1st. And hopefully by the end of the year or the beginning of 2026, then the work can begin, so. Also, there is going to be Van Buren County Stand Down. I don't know if I've given you this before. It's for the veterans. It's at Decatur VFW from 10 until 2 p.m. And the stand down is really important because a lot of veterans don't know the services that are available to them. And they will be able to get information. They ask that the veteran bring their DD-214 or valid VA ID. And if you need assistance in getting a DD-214, you can contact the Van Buren Veterans Affairs Office, and your city manager has that information. Our sheriff, Sheriff Abbott, received a proclamation for Sheriff of the Year, and it was for the 2025 Michigan Sheriff's Association Terrence L. Hugel Sheriff of the Year, and that was during the July 22nd, 2025 meeting. At the first meeting of the Board of Commissioners for this year and Committee of the Whole, Sheriff Abbott honored the SWAT team who's put their lives on the line in helping to apprehend someone who was throwing pipe bombs at them. I don't know if some of you know about that, and I'm sure, oh, yes, your interim chief DeBoer knows about that. Okay, then we continue with the intergovernmental agreement, St. Joseph County Digital Information Department. We're continuing to work on that. And for the month of June 2025, our claims were approved for $608,800 approximately. I just wanted to mention too that I do have some more of the Van Buren directories, county directories, if anyone needs those. Did you give those all out, or?
Whatever we didn't have, I think we put over there to the community resources. So if we have more, we'll just put them up there, and
Okay.
anyone can grab them if they need them.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you. And I talked to the producer of this senior preferences. I don't know if you're familiar with this. It has a lot of services for seniors. It's the 2025 Southwest Michigan Senior Resource Guide. And we have a lot of seniors in our community. So I asked if they could drop off some, and then I will give them to your city manager. One last thing is I had mentioned that the Southwest Michigan Behavioral Health Authority was having difficulty in getting the funding, and that's still the case. We will see what happens if that funding is legal to be switched over to another company like, well, nonprofit like Blue Cross Blue Shield. They're bidding for being able to take over the funding that's distributed out to the community mental health boards. Unfortunately, the director of SWMBA stepped down, and his assistant has been voted in to be the director right now. Many of the staff are concerned because that whole agency may disappear, and so some of them are looking for jobs, other jobs, some have left, and some may stay with incentives. So we'll see what happens on that. Do you have any questions? Yes.
First, I want to say thank you, Gail, for all the information that you just gave to us.
Oh, you're welcome.
I had to keep it in my mind what I needed to ask. But I wanted to know about the grant you said that the county is applying for the $400,000, and you said they will probably know in September. I wanted to know, is there an income limitation when people apply for that?
I think there is. Usually with those grants like the Lakeshore Habitat grant, there usually are limitations, but I can let you know as I find out more about it.
And you said it is countywide, so
Countywide. So,
thank you.
okay, and any other questions? Yes,
Just
Joe.
a quick one. The mental health agency that's having trouble with funding, is that a state issue or is that federal? That's cutting off funds.
I think it's state. I will let you know for sure, but it seems like it's coming from the state. There's legislations that have been tried to be passed before about this, so I'm pretty sure it's state, but I'll check on that. So, yes.
So for that funding, is there a maximum amount? You had indicated that you thought you would get 23 homes throughout the county.
Yes, that's what they told us, that it would be 23 homes approximately. I can let you know more as we continue on. There also is funding from the USDA for housing, for help with roofing. And I talked to one of the gentlemen, and he said they had spent their money for this previous term, and they're going to be getting more. But USDA, I can get you the name of the gentleman who can help with that.
Can I
Please.
get that too? Pardon me, can I get that information?
Maybe you could send it to Kate and she could send it
Oh.
to us.
Okay, yes.
Because I see people frequently that could benefit from grants like this.
Okay.
And the garden, so the reference to the garden, so that's in Paw Paw to avoid any confusion, correct?
Yes, on Hazen Street, yes, right. I think it's right behind almost the mental health building, Van Buren County Mental Health. So I checked on it. I was surprised that anybody can go get vegetables. Well, that's a good thing, though.
It is.
But
Thank
the
you.
price is going up. So,
So thank you for the information.
oh, you're welcome.
Thank you. It is now time for public comment for items on the agenda, excluding items scheduled for public hearing, and you have up to 5 minutes. If there are no questions or comments, we can move on. Next is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve items A, B, and C?
I move to approve consent agenda items A through C.
Second.
Any discussion? Can we have a roll call, please?
Arnold,
Yes.
Hasley,
Yes.
Onuki. Yes. Reeser,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to old business. Number 9, the city council will be asked to consider the following actions regarding the proposed electric utility ordinance. A, receive a presentation from Utility Financial Services, LLC. B, hold a public hearing. C, consider adoption of proposed electric utility ordinance amendment. And D, consider adoption of resolution 2025-27, a resolution setting electric utility rates. Kate.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have Dawn Lund from Utility Financial Solutions on the phone. We also have Chris May from the City Electric Department. Dana Bird will not be here tonight, but we knew that we had some extra questions on our utility ordinance regarding electric. So working with Dawn Lund, we put together this presentation. I'm going to move the microphone down here so Dawn can begin to give the presentation. If there's any questions that you may have, just put your hand up so I can kind of relay that there's a question and we can kind of get in that way. So without any further ado, Dawn, are you ready?
Yes, thank you.
Well, good evening. Thank you so much for having me present to you tonight. My name is Dawn Lund. I'm Vice President of Utility Financial Solutions, and we do cost of service studies, financial plans, and special rate designs for utilities across the country, Guam, and the Caribbean. We've worked with staff for several months on the cost of service study that we performed. We actually performed a financial projection which tells you where you are financially today and where you're moving into the future. We take the revenue requirements from the financial projection and do a very detailed analysis called a cost of service study to determine what the proper rate structure should be, a defendable rate structure. And there's about 100 spreadsheets in the study that I'm talking about. But tonight, I'm going to just go over some very summarized tables. We did do two very detailed presentations, actually, to the Board of Public Utilities, one on April 28th and one on July 31st. This is just summarizing the results that came out of those presentations and the recommendations from that. If you need any additional detailed information and want to look into those further, you can go to your documents on demand and look for those in the BPW packets. But moving on to the next slide, with guidance from the BPU, I want to talk a little bit about the overall proposed rate changes for the system. We're recommending a 4.9% rate adjustment to take place on your October 1st billings. This is what mainly is driving the rate increase is your power cost provider, MPPA projected that energy and capacity costs are going to actually increase for 2026 at about 14.5%. That doesn't include transmission. Your 2025 costs actual increase was about 13%. So you're seeing some power cost increases. I want to talk a little bit about what's called a power cost adjustment to help mitigate those changes in the future. But when I said those are the increases without transmission, you currently have what's called a transmission power cost adjustment. That's a pass-through. You get your transmission from PJM, and you currently have a pass-through of those costs. And we're recommending that you have a similar pass-through for your power cost adjustment, for your changes in your power supply. Your transmission and your power supply make up about 66% of your overall expense budget and your overall actual expenses. So if we can mitigate changes in those costs, it helps stabilize the revenues of the utility, and it actually keeps base rate adjustments less frequent and a lower percent. So we're, again, recommending a 4.9% revenue adjustment rate increase, and I'm going to explain in the next slide how that impacts your average residential user. At the same time, we would recommend you adopt a value of solar credit on October 1 and also adopt a commercial EV charging rate on October 1. Moving out into the future, July of 26 and July of 27, we would recommend a revenue neutral rate adjustment. What that means is we wouldn't have an overall revenue increase to the system, but we would move the components of the way you're charging your customers. And I'm going to get into in the next slides how you actually structure your rates right now with a customer charge, a kilowatt hour charge, and hopefully implementing a PCA charge, and how that affects your customers. And I'll get into that in the next slides, how the 4.9% would affect your average customer. Do I have any questions before I move on? If not, I'll go to the next slide. I do have some detail in the next, probably about 4 slides. Maybe you want to wait until then, but are there any questions currently?
No questions.
Okay, so moving on to the next slide. This is a very highly summarized table. There's about 100, like I said, about 100 spreadsheets that go behind this study. This is a table summarizing the projected rate adjustments, how that would affect your operating income, which is that middle column in this table, and how it would affect your cash balances. Looking at the projected rate adjustments, we would recommend the 4.9 in 2026 for fiscal year 2026, and revenue neutral in 27 and 28. You can see, and moving out to 29 and 30, small rate adjustments moving out into the future. I do want to point out, though, that middle column, the adjusted operating income column, we're focusing on those first 3 years, showing you that in general, the operating income stabilizes if we were to have the rate adjustment and implement a PCA, a power cost adjustment. We're not quite meeting our optimal operating income, which is that next column. But what we're trying to do is balance your cash balances. We're looking at the next column from the optimal operating income. You can see that your projected cash balances meet your recommended minimum. And when we say minimum, we want you to be something above the minimum. You can see that you're nicely above that minimum. Your cash balances are stabilizing. But should those go in the other direction due to lower sales, more investment in capital than expected, and your cash starts turning the other way, you can see that the operating income also isn't fully meeting the operating targets. So I bring that up to say this is the best information we have today, but we do need to keep a look at this, because our operating income is dropping over time as our costs change, but we're trying to be conservative, weighing that cash balance of the utility as well, and trying to keep the rate adjustments as low as we can for our customers, but keeping the utility healthy. So if you were to adopt the 4.9% rate adjustment, the average customer using about 550 kilowatt hours a month would move from a current bill of about $82.52 to about $87.39, or a $4.87 increase in their monthly bill. Moving on to the next slide, I want to talk a little bit about your rate structure, why we charge customers like we do, the actual rate structure. So industry standards are to charge a monthly customer charge. That cost covers the things that do not vary with usage. For example, you've got administrative charges, you've got customer service, meter reading, billing, those things that do not change whether customers use any electricity or not. You're still going to pay your customer service reps. You're still going to read that meter. You're still going to send out a bill. You still have distribution infrastructure sitting there for your customers. So you have fixed costs in the system. And if we structure our rates to appropriately recoup our fixed costs through the fixed monthly customer charge, and then have also a variable charge that recoups more like power supply and some of those other variable components, it really helps with revenue stability. When we're in a period of declining sales, we have a cold summer, a wet summer, and we're not using a lot of air conditioning. It helps with revenue protection to have our fixed costs being recouped as we're incurring them. So it's a matching of your costs and sending that price signal to your customer. Also, our monthly customer charge can actually help our year-round rate payers. We have seasonal customers in the system. They may be here in the summer and leave in the winter. And if we have that monthly customer charge too low, what we've done is we've pushed cost recovery into the variable component, and that will affect your year-around rate cut payers the most, because we've pushed cost recovery in the variable component. They're the ones using the kilowatt hours all year long, and so we can actually have some subsidization to our seasonal customers if our customer charge isn't set properly. Also, if we have too much cost recovery in the variable component, we can see as we've had hot days the last couple weeks, this past month, we can have a high usage in our bills because of air conditioning or higher usage. And so we'll see customers' bills being impacted greatly because we have so much cost recovery in that summer season. And so if we don't have that recovery set properly, we'll see super high bills in the summer, and that actually helps us through the winter months when our bills are a lot lower and we've got that cost recovery rolled into that variable component. So it's a way to also stabilize our revenues seasonally when we have that customer charge set properly. Also, our solar customers, when we have solar customers and we're net metering, which that's your current policy to net meter, and we have a low customer charge with that variable recovery rolled into the kilowatt hour charge, we can have some subsidization for our solar customers as well. Before I move on to the next slide, do you guys have any questions so far on that?
Yeah, do some solar customers with panels on their roof actually have a positive income, and do you buy back at the same rate you charge?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yes.
Kate?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So right now you net meter, and so your solar customers get a full credit for any energy pushed back into the system. And so what happens is when we have cost recovery rolled into the kilowatt hour charge, including distribution cost recovery, the solar customer can get more of a credit when we net meter than what should be. And so that is why we're talking about moving to or recommending consideration to move to a value of solar credit, where what we look at is the cost savings to the utility for the energy, the capacity, that when the customer pushes energy back to the utility, that's the savings that the utility sees. But you wouldn't give the full net metering retail rate to the customer. So it's a very detailed study we do to figure out what that value is to the utility to actually take those kilowatt hours back instead of just doing net metering, which is a one-for-one.
Does that answer your question, Joe?
I think so.
Mary?
For the monthly charge, is that, so I've seen the 4.9 and the 5.8 charges. Is the 5.8 with PCA? Because we're talking, PCA and TCA are in there. And the PCA, I thought I had it in my notes what the acronym was for. Power cost adjustment, and then the transmission cost adjustment is TCA.
Correct.
How did those factor in to the standard fee? And the reason I'm asking is if that's adding to the standard monthly fee, then that can be very onerous on people, and especially if they don't use a lot of electricity, then their base fee is a significant part of their overall fee, and it's very difficult for them, whereas the people who do use a lot of electricity, that's a small portion of their fee. So I appreciate the comments you made about how you don't want to have the usage rate too high because of the year-round person paying that year-round, but the counter of that is if the monthly fee is a significant part of their bill, then that's regressive. That's just not helping the people.
So that's a great question. Let's talk about that. So when we did the cost of service study, let's talk about what goes into that component, the customer charge, that fixed fee. So what goes into that, like I said, was the meter reading, customer service, those fixed costs. On a cost to serve basis for your system, we do a detailed study to determine what that should be. And for your system, that came out to $17.75. You're currently charging $6. In this rate design, we're only moving to $8. We're not moving to the $17.75. Now, if you look locally around your municipal utility, your closest towns charge anywhere from $12.50 to about $22 for that charge. So you're currently charging $6. This rate design would move to $8. And actually, I'm going to have you, if you would, go to slide 5. I just want to excuse me, not slide 5. Let's go back one slide and go to slide 2. So when we look at that bottom table on slide 2, you can see the average customer uses about 550 kilowatt hours a month. In year 1, that bill under this current rate structure would be $87.39. Only $8 of that, or about 10% of that bill, is for their fixed cost recovery. So it's a very low percentage that's actually a part of their bill. In the perfect world, you wouldn't be charging $8, you'd be charging $17.75. And that is for costs that don't vary with usage. So even when you have a very low user, that monthly customer charge should be $17.75 to recoup things like the customer service sitting there, the administrative costs, a portion of the distribution system, meter reading, billing. I mean, when you think about an $8 customer charge, monthly customer charge, the stamp to send out that bill is 78 cents. So just the stamp, when you envision everything that I talked about, including distribution infrastructure, those fixed costs sitting out there to serve those customers, and you're only charging $8 to recoup all that, that's a very low customer charge. Again, if you actually do a quick search, you can even Google this, what's the average electric residential customer charge in Michigan, and it's $12.75. And for us doing cost of service studies in Michigan and across the country, that's even low. And like I said, your surrounding communities are anywhere from about $12.75 to $22. So you're very low on that customer charge. And when we move with this rate design, we're trying to move that very slowly. We're only recommending moving it about $2 a year. So you can envision it's going to take 5, 6, 7 years to get up to that $17 cost of service charge.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, Wendy.
I don't have our utility bill in front of me, but I feel like if my recollection is right, it's more than $8 a month in the ready-to-use fee for electric in our bills. Is that wrong?
Yeah, currently you're only charging $6. So when you open up your bill and you're paying $82.50, I'm talking a average user at $550 kilowatt hours. Only $6 of that is the fixed fee. Yeah, you charge. That's what you charge right now is $6 for that fixed fee. The rest is rolled in to the kilowatt hour charge of currently you're charging 11 cents and you're charging your transmission costs adjustment of 2.973 cents. So most of that bill is actually on a variable basis.
Okay.
For usage.
So you had said surrounding areas are 12 to 22. What is the usage rate and what is the transmission rate for those surrounding jurisdictions?
Yeah, so I didn't do a complete survey, but I can tell you I did survey your closest investor-owned utility, and you are charging currently about 35.5% less than your closest investor-owned utility. So you have very competitive rates for the area. In Michigan, the average bill using 650 kilowatt hours a month. Now, yours are based on 550. You use a little bit less than an average consumption in Michigan is about $122 a month to your $87 a month.
I'm just looking at the graph on, it would be, I think, page 43 of the agenda packet. I'm not sure what page it is. It has the chart that has year 1, year 2, year 3 with the 250, 400, 550, 700, et cetera. And the graph shows that at about 700, that's when, if you use above 700, you're actually below. So I don't know if you have a slide similar to that to discuss that. It's just, so the lower users are paying a higher percent.
Yeah, so the lower users are not, they're paying, any increase shows a higher percent, but the dollar impact is lower. So anytime you have an increase on a lower number, the percentage is going to be higher. That's just the way numbers work. But the dollar impact, so let's go to that. I think it would be your slide 5, Kate, I think is what she's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you go to that, and then we'll see if that's it. So when we look at the average user at about 550, this rate design would affect them by about $4.80. Anybody lower than that would be affected, obviously lower than the average, but if you take the $4, let's take that 404 based on their bill, it's going to be a higher percentage because they use lower, their bill's lower. So the percentage sounds scary and higher, but the actual dollar impact is lower. So let's this might be getting into too much detail, but Kate, I want to show the council something. So let's go to slide, if you go to slide 6, which will be the slide that says thank you, and then go to the next slide, slide 7.
Okay, does it say PGM costs?
No, it says residential summary.
Right there.
Okay. So this is probably getting a little too detailed, but what I want to talk about here is when we think about fixed cost recovery, a customer charge, when you try to target a certain demographic within a rate class, you can actually harm the other people in that same rate class that are your customers as well. So let me explain this table. This is probably getting a little deep, but it's important you understand this. So when we design a rate on a cost of service study basis, the cost of service study is designed on the average user in that class. So right now, I'm just only talking about the residential summary right now. And what we've recommended is to move to a customer charge of $8. You see that on the top line there. Your kilowatt hour and your transmission costs adjustment is 14.5 cents. All right. Now, if I were to say, okay, and recall that the cost of service customer charge is $17.75. We're not recommending moving to $17.75, but that would be the perfect fixed cost recovery. We're only moving it to $8 in this 1 year. We're trying to be very conservative in moving that closer to cost of service over time. So if I were to say, okay, I'm going to worry about the low user, and I'm going to not change that customer charge, and I'm going to actually let everybody be in control of their bill, and I'm going to move everything into variable cost recovery. Okay, I'm not going to have a fixed charge. I think that's best for the low user. I think it's best that everybody has control of their bill. For the exact same cost recovery, you would have to charge line 3 on that table there, which is 15.9 cents. Okay, so let's look at the table below that. And your average user uses about 548 kilowatt hours in a month. And you can see if I charged either or of the rate structures that I talked about above, if I charged $8 for a customer charge, 14 cents per kilowatt hour for 548. They would pay $87.31. If I instead said, okay, I'm going to abandon fixed cost recovery, I'm going to pure variable, and I'm letting everybody be in control of their bill, you would take the 15.9 cents times the 548, and the average user would pay $87.31. There's no change. It's a cost of service based rate, okay, based on the average user. So now if I said, okay, I'm going to look at, these are actual customers off your system. We requested some customers off your system. These are all in the residential class. These are actual customers on your system. One of the test customers we looked at used 453 kilowatt hours in a month. They use less than the average. So under their new rate structure, they would pay $73.62. If we moved to all-in kilowatt hour charge of the 15.9 cents, they would only pay $72.24. So they would save $1.38. That's a low-use customer. But now we're moving away from cost of service, right, and talking about an all-in rate, which is moving away from cost of service based and moving away from industry standards. Now I've got a customer in the same residential class using 641 kilowatt hours a month. Under my new rate structure, which is cost of service based, they would pay $100.89. They used more than the average user. So they're going to pay more. But if I said, all right, I'm rolling all that cost recovery into the variable charge, they would pay $102.26, or we would be overcharging them of $137, $1.37. My point being, in this table, is I'm trying to show you that if you move away from cost of service and not have a defendable rate structure and a cost-based rate structure, you can actually, and you target a demographic that you're worried about in the same rate class that other customers are in, you can inadvertently harm other customers in that same rate class. So that is why we don't target a demographic, we target the average user. I don't know if that got a little deep here, but I'm trying to show you that there's pros and cons to every rate decision you make, and that's why you have cost of service to try to have a rate structure that's fair to everyone. Are there any questions on that?
Mary?
So I don't see it as targeting any demographic. I see it as pay as you use. So if someone's going to be using a lot more, I would expect them to pay more.
And they will through the variable kilowatt hour charge. But if all these customers sitting here, the average customer using 548, the low user using 453, the high customer uses 641, every single one of these customers on a cost to serve basis, minimum costs you $17.75 to provide service to them. What's rolled into that $17.75 is the customer service rep sitting there. You're not going to fire a customer service rep because somebody didn't use kilowatt hours in that month. You're still going to read the meter. You're still going to send the bill. You still have the distribution infrastructure sitting there. You still have the meter sitting there. You still have the wires there. You still have the poles there. Those are fixed costs to you. So in the perfect world, you would be charging $17.75 even for a zero user. And then the customer that uses more would be, the cost recovery is through that variable component. They use more, they pay more because they pay more times the kilowatt hour rate. But so it's when you say pay as you use it, absolutely. Everybody should pay their fair share. And the fair share on a fixed cost basis for a residential customer is $17.75 regardless of usage, minimum.
And when you're determining the cost of service, that would include all the substation work and the employees, et cetera. All of that is rolled into that.
So it's a portion of the distribution system. It's not all the substation rolled into one. I'm going to get in to a little bit of detail again, it's called a minimum system analysis. So you're correct. We look at the fixed costs of administrative, customer service reps, meter readers, those costs that do not change with usage. Now, on the distribution side and the infrastructure side, we look at something called a minimum system analysis, where we look at your specific system. And I'm not talking from an engineering standpoint, I'm talking from a costing standpoint. And we say, what's the minimum system we would need to build to deliver 1 kilowatt hour to every single customer? What wires would I need there? What poles would I need there? What meters would I need there? And that's the portion of the distribution and infrastructure, physical infrastructure sitting out there, that's rolled into that customer charge, that minimum portion. Now, your customers use more than 1 kilowatt hour. So all those other infrastructure costs that were built out because they use more than 1 kilowatt hour are rolled into that variable component. So it's not all your hard costs, it's the hard costs that are considered because you actually have a customer sitting there and we want to deliver at least 1 kilowatt hour to everyone. So that's how much work and detail analysis that goes behind that customer charge to develop that $17.75 charge.
Yeah, I'm just not, it's not clear that it's all of our city's expenses are covered in that transmission cost, so that our residents are paying the cost of service, but then also our taxes, our general taxes are covering what's not covered in here.
No, so you guys, this isn't, so the electric fund is an enterprise fund, which means the revenues produced from the department, from the electric department, pay for all of the infrastructure costs, all of the debt, all of the expenses for the electric system. So it's called an enterprise fund, meaning you have to produce enough revenues within that fund. When you deliver electricity to customers, they have to pay for all those expenses. This isn't a tax-based rate.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
No, it doesn't look like we have any if you want to proceed with that presentation.
Okay, so I kind of talked a lot about slides 3, 4, and 5. So I think I actually think we're kind of to the end of any more questions, but let's actually summarize. We talked about a lot of stuff tonight. So let's summarize. Maybe we can even go back to slide 1, if you would, please. Sure. And we'll just kind of review what the recommendations are with guidance from the BPU. So what we're looking at is a 4.9% rate adjustment recommended to take place October 1. Again, your costs for 2025 and 2026, your power costs pushed through to you were much higher than that. What we're trying to do is balance your current cash balance with being conservative on a rate adjustment. But we do need to watch that in the future. If cash balances start to drop, we're going to need to revisit the rate adjustments. But we're trying to be conservative and we're trying to weigh that out. We'd also recommend adopting a value of solar credit. Again, somebody asked a great question about net metering. What we're trying to do with the value of solar is to actually credit the appropriate rate, not an overcredit. Because right now with net metering, we've got distribution infrastructure rolled into that kilowatt hour charge that we're crediting on that the solar customer is actually using. We also are recommending adopting a commercial EV rate. This is critical across the country. We're seeing EV charging they actually create a very large demand with low kilowatt hour usage. So you have to have the proper rate structure to appropriately recover those costs. And then right now, for the information we know today, it would be a revenue neutral rate adjustment in 26 and 27, moving to more cost-based rates, and then implementing that power cost adjustment. Your power costs and your transmission costs represent about 66% of your overall cost to the system. So we want to make sure any changes in that we mitigate through that automatic pass-through. those are the recommendations that we would have.
Thank you, Dawn.
Any more questions?
I move to open the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? The public hearing is now open. If you have any comments, you can come to the microphone.
Chris Campbell, 528 Crane Street. Quick question so you're talking about increasing the ready-to-use service, but then also increasing the rate. The things I didn't hear were the wholesale cost. What are we paying per that 11 cents that we're reselling it at 11 cents now? Most businesses have to operate inside that margin. They can't just tack on something else on top of that. 550 kilowatts, that's like not running a fridge or a microwave. Maybe, you get some lights. So that's very low. I used almost 10,000 kilowatts last month. So, I have multiple places, but I'm not using that much. So, just a heads up.
Do you want to wait for an answer from Dawn?
Yeah.
Do you want me to answer that question or the comment?
Yes, please.
So the rate increase, again, is based on changes in power supply costs, changes in your other costs. We actually aren't even passing through the whole rate change that the system is seeing. So right now, if you take, let's go back to slide 1, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
If you take the 14.5% that's projected for 2026 increase in wholesale power supply costs, okay? And you take the 13% that actually increased in 2013 without a corresponding rate adjustment and without a PCA. Let me calculate this out real quickly, just a second. In order for the system to stay whole, meaning not lose money because you had those type of increases, you would take the 14.5 cents plus the 13 cents, that's 27.5% that the system saw for an increase. Take that times 66%, because your transmission costs and your power supply costs are 66% of your overall budget. You would have an 18% rate increase today, or actually by 2026, 18 all-in percent rate increase to operate within the parameters of the power cost increase. Instead, you're having a 4.9% rate adjustment. What's happening is the system is and so actually let me add to that. So if you could go to slide 2, please. Mm-hmm. You can see that happening, meaning we're not pushing through the full increase needed. We're only pushing through 4.9% of the 18.15% needed. You can see that reflected in the operating income. When you go to slide 2, the projected adjusted operating income is only $97,000. What you should be having as an operating income, if you were to fully properly fund the system, is $961,000 and $961,120. You're not meeting that. Why aren't you meeting that? Because we're not pushing through the full 18% you should be having. Now, why aren't we recommending the full 18%? So let's go look at the next column, which is that projected cash balance. I'm saying, well, you've got about $8.5 million there. At a bare bones minimum, I want you to have 6.5. And when I say minimum, that's cash critical. So I don't want you to be cash critical. But I'm saying, what we can do is keep this rate increase under 5%. Let's be conservative for your customers. Let's not push through the whole 18.5. But you can see over time, our adjusted operating income does deteriorate. And we threw in a 1% in 2030 as a projected increase, but that operating income is deteriorating. In the perfect world, that wouldn't happen. In the perfect world, you would meet the operating income of at least $1 million every year. We're not doing that. That means your current ratepayers are being subsidized. we're not fully recouping the cost in the system, but we're balancing that, trying to keep rates low because our cash is stabilizing. Does that make sense?
It does, and I think he was also trying to explain that, or asking that, are we seeing increased energy costs, increased transmission costs? Is that the reason why we're going up 13 and 14% per year?
Correct. That's projected cost from MPPA, your wholesale power cost provider.
Thank you, Dawn.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Dennis Lewis, 1439 Clark. I may be out of order a little bit on this, but my understanding is part of this ordinance that we're talking about is changing the way we make the rate increases, talking about doing it through a resolution as opposed to an ordinance change. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that I'm kind of opposed to, because I like the idea of having at least 2 city council meetings where we discuss this type of thing, because the first one will get the people, well, if we tried to raise it 20%, which we're not, thankfully, all of a sudden, people wouldn't necessarily know about it until it's too late. That's why I like the idea of having 2 city council meetings that go through this. First one will get the people notified if it's something ridiculous. And then at the second one, people can comment on it. If it's done with their resolution, it's done. Too late. So that's my comment. Other than that, I'm fine with what we're talking about here with increasing the base rate, which covers our operating expenses before the actual variable costs. I mean, that's good business. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor say yes.
So
Yes.
are we going to
You can keep talking.
discuss this?
Do you have more questions?
Yes. So we have the resolution set up that, there's no time. Is it possible to set the ordinance such that the resolution cannot be passed that it would have to have an introduction and then a second hearing to be adopted? It's easier than the ordinance, but is there a way to set it up through the ordinance that it would take 2 hearings?
I think as a practical matter, yes, the ordinance could be modified to make that requirement. I guess my comment would be that in doing that, you are essentially dictating to a future council how they must operate in terms of adopting their resolution. There's nothing that would preclude a future council from holding a public hearing and doing it through that process. I think the question for this body is, do you want to require a future council to do that?
Because the concern raised has been a concern of mine, is that the resolution gets set, it's done, and people do not necessarily know about it, especially if it's in the middle of summer when people are gone for 2 weeks.
Right, and I'm not commenting on the merit of the concern by any means. All I'm saying is, yes, it's an option, but the question, at least from my perspective, is that something that you want to require a future council to do, barring a subsequent change to the ordinance, or is it something that you want to say, look, we want to move this towards a resolution, and we will let future councils decide whether or not they choose to hold a public hearing or not?
I mean, there's nothing prohibiting staff from bringing it once for just a reading, then 2 to act on it, so people have more time. But I should say that this has been something actively contemplated by the BPU for the better part of half a year.
Right, but the BPU meets during working hours, very difficult for people to get to.
Well, I think they meet at 4 o'clock. Is that correct, George?
Yeah, normally it's at 4 o'clock.
George, since you're on the BPU, do you have some comments?
Well, so first I'll talk about the ordinance change. And I believe that what we're doing with the ordinance and making it so that we can change our rates via resolution is standard practice. And yeah, it makes it a little bit easier to change our rates, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's always going to be a rate increase. It could also be a rate decrease. And the way the electric utility industry is going, I think it's beneficial to have that flexibility because, say, all of a sudden, somebody wants to come and invest in our community, and they're going to be a high user, and we need a whole new rate class for them. Well, having that flexibility to do that via resolution, I think, could be an advantage. So I don't think it's anything earth-shattering to do this by resolution. We do all sorts of other things by resolution. This, to me, is something that's done throughout the industry, and I don't see an issue with it. Now, talking about the rates itself, the city has not raised its rates in over 9 years, and there is no question that we need to raise our rates. And no one likes to have a rates increase, but the best way to do that is to do a cost of service study so that the rates you are proposing have a good basis. This reduces the risk to the city from any rate class that wants to challenge the new rates, attempting to change the new rates outlined by the experts, and by scrutiny as to the rates basis. If we on City Council choose the lower rates for one rate class, thus deviating from the experts, we not only need to decide how much to lower that rate, we also have to decide, are we going to raise rates for another rate class? I think Dawn did a great job of showing that there was a lot of thought that went into our rates. We on City Council, we're not experts, so I don't think we need to challenge what the experts are saying. We just need to make sure the city has engaged experts to give us a good product. I have faith in our experts, and I have thus faith in the numbers.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
We got to close the public hearing still.
What?
We have to close the public hearing still?
We did.
We didn't vote.
No,
Oh,
we didn't. So
Okay, let's close the public hearing first.
We can still comment.
Do you have something else to say before
I
we
was
do
just
that?
going to respond. I don't think that we're opposed to a resolution. It's just, would it be beneficial to require that it be done in 2 sessions, just like we have for the ordinance? And it's easier, it doesn't require as much change with the resolution versus an ordinance. For the rate, I think my biggest concern is in year 3, going up to 12, so it's doubling what we have now, and then the rate is going down. I think for the lower users, I would rather have the base stay lower at 10, and maybe this is so far out that it's going to change regardless, so it's not worth talking about. But what I hear consistently is that, for lack of a better description, the ready-to-serve fee is onerous. Now, for electrical, it's not bad. But what I am hearing is everyone would rather have as low as possible for a base rate and have the difference made up by a usage rate, such that those who are conservative pay less.
They do now. And I think it was really adequately explained by Dawn that we've set these as low as we can, but this utility must be self-sustaining as an enterprise fund. This is not to be subsidized by the general fund, which is paid by top property taxes. This is paid by the users of the system, which extend past the borders of the city. We provide electricity to members in Casco Township, Geneva Township, South Haven Charter Township.
Right, and what I had said was that for year 3, it goes up to 12, and the usage rate goes down. So I would rather see the base rate stay at 10 and the usage rate stay at 11.22, because that is more beneficial for the lower users versus higher users. But as I clarified, it's so far out, we could have a resolution back to us to reevaluate because of the increased costs.
Well, one of the things that we talked about at the BPU meeting is that we will probably be looking to do a cost of service study probably 2 or 3 years in the future, depending on, how the electrical system goes after this. So, yeah, we make our best guess looking out to the future, but at any time, and it's more than likely, we'll have another cost of service study before this year 3 or 4 maybe.
Well, and that's exactly what I was saying is that, but what I would like taken back to BW is in this analysis and also for the UFS, in the analysis, especially for residential, for our families, the key is keeping the monthly rate as low as possible. And I think putting more emphasis on the usage rate. I mean, I did look at my bills before this meeting to identify the impact of it. And I am benefiting with the rate it is with my usage. So, because I'm just over the average.
Let's vote to close the hearing.
I think you already did, according to the clerk.
I do have a motion on the floor moved by Arnold, seconded by Sleeper to close the public hearing. I believe you were interrupted during your voting process.
All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? The hearing is closed. Is there a motion?
I move to adopt a proposed electrical use ordinance amendment and consider adoption of Resolution 2025-27, a resolution setting electrical utility rates.
Second.
Can we have any more discussion? Can we have a roll
Well,
call?
so is there any desire to have amendment to require that the resolution be presented at one meeting and voted on at a second
We're
meeting?
going to vote on the motion, and we'll see how this goes.
Mayor, if I may, to clarify, the motion is to vote on the ordinance itself right now, not the resolution, correct?
I thought it was both.
I ran them together.
Okay, I would suggest, again, council's choice, to vote on the ordinance first, and then depending on how that vote goes, to vote on the resolution.
Okay, thank you.
I would amend my motion. I would move to approve the electrical utility ordinance amendment.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Hasley,
No.
Onuki,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Is there a motion to consider the adoption of the resolution?
I move to adopt Resolution 2025-27, a resolution setting electrical utility rates.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Onuki,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Hasley,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to new business. Number 10, the city council will be asked to consider approval of the following special event applications. A, special event application 2025-38, Holiday in the Park 2025, to be held on Friday, November 28th, 2025, from 4 to 7 p.m. in various locations throughout the city. B, special event application 2025-39, New Year's Eve 2025, to be held on Wednesday, December 31st, 2025 at 1 p.m. through January 1st, 2026 at 1 a.m. at the Phoenix and Center Street intersection. C, special event application 2025-40, Pretty Arts and Crafts Festival, to be held on Saturday, August 23rd, 2025, from 4 to 8 p.m. at Elkenberg Park.
I move to approve special event 2025-38, Holiday in the Park 2025, as read by the mayor. Special event 2025-39, New Year's Eve 2025, as read by the mayor. And special event application 2025-40, Pretty Arts and Craft Festival, as read by the mayor.
Support.
All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? The motion is passed.
I did have a question.
What?
I'll set a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Is the third item is a newer one. I was wondering if anyone is here
Yes,
from.
she is.
They would like to come share. While I've read the packet, our viewers and listeners may not have. If you get a chance to promote it a little bit, tell us what the crafts are going to pertain and that kind of.
Hi, Andrea Goodwin Hooker, 963 Kalamazoo Street. Yes, this is our third year for our annual Arts and Craft Festival. And this year, well, each year we kind of set up tents where we do freestyle painting, face painting, bracelet making. We do giveaways, and we do refreshments. And this year, we were actually able to implement a sneaker painting workshop where we had youth register. It was a deadline by July 15th where they had to register to participate, and we did get 37 recipients, and I was able to purchase 37 pair of Nike gym shoes, which they will participate in the sneaker painting workshop, which in turn will be a great starter school shoe for them as well. So, and again, that is this Saturday on the 23rd at Elkinberry Park from 4 to 8. So if you're not busy, come on out.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I have one question.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you. I want to congratulate you on your third year. I want to congratulate you on your third year. I think you're doing a fantastic job working in the community at Elkinberg Park. I just have one question. For Saturday, is there something going on before 4?
Yes, there is also, we're having our churches doing a community, Feed the Community that we do every year. We usually do one in Kalamazoo, and then we try to do one down here. So this Saturday, starting at noon, from noon till about 3:30 is kind of butt to butt there. But yeah, we're going to be doing a Feed the Community, so you can come out and get a free meal and meet the members of our church, which is Solomon's Temple, located on Blue Star Highway.
Okay, thank you. I was wondering why it was so late. That's why I asked.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All righty, thank you.
We'll see you Saturday. Moving on. The City Council will be asked to consider approving the purchase of one leaf collection truck from MTech in the amount of $270,395.76 and authorizing staff to execute the necessary documents. Kate.
Thank you, Mayor. We are asking the council to approve $270,000 for a new leaf truck. We bought 2 leaf trucks in 2014, exactly the same. One of the leaf trucks has been down for almost, I think, a season and a half. We've been trying to find parts for it. And quite frankly, they don't make the parts for this anymore, so we've had to have certain things constructed for it. We've replaced motherboards, and we had to make a decision here that they were not going to be able to give a replacement part. And we know how much leaves we have in this town. We are Tree City, USA, and leaf collection is one of the services that we do offer. It is very vital that we have 2 operating leaf trucks. Even we do it on the weekends just to keep up. And with just 1 leaf truck, it's not able to keep us up. So we are looking to buy a new leaf truck. We intend to try to keep parts for the non-operational one. And if we can't get the parts, then we'll have to keep that third one for the 2014 that is operational, as they're not making parts for it. So that's our plan. This was not a budgeted expense with our capital improvement, but we are intending on moving some of the purchases that we have not yet made this fiscal year, to the next fiscal year, so that we can afford this with no changes to our budget.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
I move to approve staff for purchase of a one-leaf collection truck from MTech in the amount of $270,395.76 and execute any other necessary documents.
Second.
Any discussion?
I can just say I know people in Ward 3 it was very stressful having the leaves out there all winter, so it'll be wonderful if we can get that done.
The good news is that I believe that once we make this purchase order, we can have it here within 3 days. So we've already kind of run that down.
Thanks. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? The motion passes. Moving on, the City Council will be asked to consider approval of Resolution 2025-28, a resolution extending approval for the planned unit development for the Center Street Hale Block redevelopment project. Kate.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Locker has approached me about looking for an extension for the PUD for the Hales Block redevelopment that he was awarded by this body October in 2023. There's been a number of challenges for Mr. Locker, some of them being this is a very large project. And I know that he's written in his letter that was shared with council that there was a number of things that are taking longer to complete. Additionally, Mr. Locker is looking to work with the MEDC and MSHA on an incentive package, and that is taking some time to put together. Also, what's not helping matters is that the legislature has not adopted a budget for this year, which is supposed to be done by October 1st, and here we are mid-August. So there's a number of factors that are delaying this. So he is asking for an up to two-year extension, which is allowed by our code. And I know that I've had conversations with Mr. Locker, and we'd like to see that plan go forward. He hopes that he doesn't have to use the entire 2 years, but we thought, let's be conservative and just understand that there's some factors that are outside of everyone's control.
Any questions?
And the resolution does include a fence. I know several people have inquired about that.
That's correct.
Do you have any idea how tall a fence the city is going to be asking?
I believe when I checked with the zoning, I believe that it's going to be limited to a 4-foot fence.
I saw that looks like the lot was already cleaned up over the weekend, and the fence is in pretty good shape right now.
Very good.
Okay, is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-28, a resolution extending approval for the planned unit development for the Center Street Hale Block redevelopment project.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? The motion passes. Moving on, the City Council will be asked to receive an update from Interim Police Chief Adam DeBoer.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Oh, the fun dispatch stats are here for July. July was a busy month for us. We had 359 calls for service in the city, 83 traffic stops in the city. Those numbers are a little down from June. It doesn't mean we weren't busy, though. You'll see that in the next slide. So South Haven Township, we added 11 calls at 165 calls for service. Weirdly, we had 59 traffic stops, the exact same thing we had in June. So annual totals for the police department year to date, 2,975 calls for service and a little over 1,000 traffic stops. Going into the stats of South Haven Police Department, we took 272 reports, which is up 37 from June, and we made 61 arrests. Of those 61 arrests, 59 of them were misdemeanors and 5 of them were felonies. You guys all know I like my OWI stats, my operating while intoxicated stats. We had 11 of them. We had 4 disorderly subjects, a couple possession of meths. We had a robbery. It was not an armed robbery, I believe. It was a couple of our homeless population. We had the suspects in custody 25, 30 minutes after the incident took place. We had a couple retail frauds like usual, some bench warrants, and a parole violation. One thing I found interesting while going over the stats is 13 members made arrest in July. Our staffing calls for 12 members on the road. So I was thinking to myself, how do we get 13 people making an arrest? We have 2 officers on training. So everybody that worked the road made an arrest last month, which is kind of a fun stat that I've never noticed before. So, and then our crew wrote 81 traffic citations as well. So the stuff that I'm really proud of, the fun stuff our department does, we had National Night Out. Huge shout out to our law enforcement partners who were there. Michigan State Police, Van Buren County Sheriff's Office, Van Buren County Sheriff's Office Mounted Patrol. If you were down there, they had 2 of their horses down there. They were kind of leading them around. People were petting them. We also had a lot of community partners. I have a whole list from Pam Ford from South Haven, or Safe Kids of Greater South Haven. I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody, so she put a list together for me. She did a lot of the work on this, getting permits approved. working with Brandon and I to put it together. So huge shout out to Pam Ford and to Bronson Health and Safe Kids South Haven. But Abel Munoz Jr. was our DJ. We had Lions Club there, Safe Kids Rotary, DHHS, We Care, Great Start Collaborative, Flowers Early Learning, LMC, Van Buren County Specialty Court, South Haven Memorial Library, Intercare, Van Buren County Mental Health, YDC and PAL, Mint Museum, Liberty Hyde Bailey Museum, Shoreline Dance Academy, Elks Lodge, and Etna. I'm sorry, I don't really know who they were. But we had a lot of people out there. We started the day, Shay started the day with 168 hot dogs. We had to go buy more. So we ended up serving probably a little over 200 hot dogs. General consensus is we probably had around 300 people out that night. Huge shout out to Elzinga Volkers. They provided us with a little van there that our guys helped serve ice cream out of. Pictures there, you see our crew with a couple of state troopers, and you see one of our newest officers, Aaron Spears. I literally got the smallest ice cream wagon I could find just to put my biggest officer in because I thought it would be funny, and it was. So if you came out, thank you for your support. The next slide, Bobby Walker Basketball Tournament. It was its 49th year. Brandon Hins and I have received a leadership award from Bobby several times. So this time we decided to give Bobby an award. Bobby was surprised. We caught him a little off guard. And you can see there a little bit of what we had in the award. So he was surprised. It was time. Bobby's a big part of that community. He supports both the police and fire department very well in that community as a whole. So we were thankful for Bobby. We also like to surprise Bobby and have a little fun with him. Next year is going to be a fun year. It's the 50th anniversary. Mr. Walker's really looking forward to it, and so are we. Had a meeting with Tim McGee. He's the director of Van Buren County Central Dispatch for now. He's retiring in January. Mike Hostetler, who is a former dispatcher of South Haven Police Department when we had a dispatch center, is going to be taking over. One thing that Tim kind of told me about is this What 3 Words program. It's a cell phone app. Some people are nodding their head. I like that. It's an app that basically they took the whole map of the whole globe and mapped it out into 10-foot squares. In each square, they assigned 3 random words. Where this comes in handy for dispatch center is if you're ever in trouble and you call 911 and have that app, rather than try and give latitude or longitude numbers, which can get confusing, they can just hit their app. It'll tell them what 3 words to say. Dispatch can punch in the 3 words, and it'll give them wherever they are in the globe to within 10 feet. So there's 57 trillion squares to cover the globe. The next slide, I have a picture of the map pulled up, which shows City Hall. And I just picked a square that I figured would be roughly where I would be standing today. And the 3 words for this spot is tree, future, and charmingly. So, I don't know. Tree City USA was brought up, so there it is. So it's just one of the initiatives that Tim is really pushing as he's getting ready to hand the reins over to him. We're going to work with him and try and get some signs up by our marinas. One of the places where they've seen it is in vessel rescues or missing kayakers. So our dispatch centers use it a couple times already for kayakers on the Black River or over in Pawpaw. They had the app. They were pop it up, and it took them directly to where they were. So there'll be some signs around the marinas or along the waterway kind of pushing that app. That's all I've got.
Any questions? Harry?
I do. So I was contacted this weekend for a couple, one this weekend, and also we had Chris Campbell email us. Downtown, there's a couple different things going on. So one is the noise, and I understand you've been very involved, so thank you for your work with that. But for that, the city had been contacted over a year ago about a revision to the noise ordinance. The current one is a bit clunky, it's antiquated. That might assist with some of the issues that we have downtown. And the other one, for people with signs. So we have to balance freedom of speech, but we do have the right to regulate time, place, and manner. And yesterday, I believe there was an incident at Center and Phoenix. And it would just be nice to be able to have a downtown where people can come and not be confronted by messages that they find offensive, especially if they're very graphic, especially if they're in an area where people are going to meals and have children. In looking through our ordinance, I saw the making, exhibiting of obscene matter. That's from '93. That's antiquated also. Is there something maybe that police and city staff could do to start looking at some of these older ordinances to make it easier for your staff to enforce, to have a more peaceful downtown?
It's pretty easy for us. If they're blocking thoroughfare on a sidewalk, we can move them on. If they are not blocking thoroughfare of the sidewalk, they're free to be there. That's an open space. As far as what the message is, we can't regulate that. That is something that is
things have to be
First Amendment right. Offensive speech is what is protected in the First Amendment.
But as I said, there is, so you have to balance First Amendment. Municipalities have the ability to regulate time, place, and manner. And if material is deemed obscene, so like I said, they're antiquated. It would be something nice that I think the city could start investigating to make our downtown more welcoming. And I think that would also help our businesses. So people are not avoiding certain areas and avoiding businesses. And those were two things that came to my attention just since Friday. The other couple items, I've noticed personally, and I've heard a lot of people parking where there's yellow lines. And especially if it's close to a corner, it obstructs. And if we're trying to be a walkable community, that frustrates that. The other is blocking the sidewalk, if someone's blocking the sidewalk. I appreciate you're very skeletal, especially in your staff, very low number for the number of calls you get, remarkable with what your staff has done. Is there something that we can do as a municipality to help better enforce those?
So generally speaking, my staff, the police officers for South Haven, are not handling the parking complaints. If they come in during the day, parking enforcement, which is typically who handles it. Obviously, if it's a busy day, July 3rd, a lot of times we'll handle it. My guys will get involved if the towing of a vehicle is involved. But generally speaking, if we can ticket it, they'll ticket it. We only tow vehicles for, I don't want to say extreme, but if it's blocking vehicle traffic is one reason why we would tow it. Length of stall, if it's a couple feet out and it's really impeding traffic, we'll tow it. If it's...
I'm not looking to have it towed, but
Yeah.
ticketed,
Yep.
because I'm not...
So year-to-date so far, the Parking Enforcement Group has written 3,546 tickets. Last year total for the whole summer was 2,340. Of those tickets, the top 3 tickets they write, beach parking or not paying for your space, is 1,214 tickets. Length of stall, 912. No parking zone, which would be yellow curb or the white slash marks at South Beach come to mind, 377 tickets. The lowest 2 we have are handicap parking and over-the-walk parking. I think over-the-walk parking is so low because there's a way that we enforce that we can't really do any other parking ticket. typical response for our guys is if it's an over-the-walk ticket, we generally have an idea of where that person who owns that car might be staying. Our enforcement objective is to gain compliance. If we can gain compliance by knocking on a door and having that vehicle moved off the walk, that's what our guys are going to do. So 60, I have no way of tracking how many times we've gone to the front door of a house, knocked on it, and had the person move it. I don't have that number. It's virtually impossible for me to get. But again, our main goal is to gain compliance. We can ticket that car and it can sit over that walk now for 24 hours. Or with a simple knock on the door, we can have it moved and that remedies the problem. The problem that I think we have is if it's a rental house, we have to remedy that problem every weekend because it's a new renter in there every weekend. But that's what we do. So, yes, the over-the-walk tickets are not huge, but that is enforced, I'll be honest, it's enforced as a call-in basis. My guys, my police officers aren't driving around looking at parking enforcement. There's just too many other issues that they have to deal with. Parking enforcement, talking with the director, they're instructed the first thing in the morning to check the neighborhoods and then deal with those matters that happen. Throughout the rest of their shift, they don't have time to check the neighborhoods. They will go into the neighborhoods when they're called there. However, they're focusing on where they need to focus, downtown and the beaches. So, yeah, I got the director text me today because I was trying to get some numbers because you gave me a little heads up on this. I think he said they're up 54% from last year. So he's very proud of his guys. I'm very proud of his guys. That's a lot of tickets for a group of 6 or 7 guys or gals to write. And like I said, I think they're taking other enforcement action also. Enforcement doesn't just mean a ticket. Enforcement can mean a verbal warning or gaining compliance through other means. So Beach Parking has done an outstanding job this year, and the year's not done. So those numbers are going to be way higher than they were last year.
Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Eberly, did you have a comment earlier?
Sure, Mayor. I'd like to jump in and talk about the Councilmember Housley's comments regarding reasonable or time, place, and manner restrictions. And I want to give council a little more context for that comment, if I may. I believe the council member is referring to the regulation of sidewalks. Sidewalks are traditional public forums that are afforded the greatest level of protection under both the U.S. Constitution and the Michigan Constitution. What I'm hearing is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the goal is to engage in content-based discrimination. Content-based discrimination.
No, that's not the goal.
So if the goal is not to engage in content-based discrimination based off the message of the sign, because that was the issue brought up, what would be the objective then?
Well, no, the concern was content-based, but we cannot do on content-based, so it would be any displays in certain areas during certain times where we have a lot of traffic, et cetera.
So
but-
saying,
Go ahead.
I will say, first thing, if it's clear to a court that you're trying to get at content-based regulations without being explicit about it, a court will see through that and say that's content-based discrimination. Secondly, simply saying reasonable time, place, and manner, that is true. If it provided it is content neutral, you can do reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions. However, time, place, and manner restrictions still must be narrowly tailored, achieve a significant governmental interest, and provide alternate ample channels of communication in addition to not being vague. So, and then there was also reference to obscenity, and in this, based off the signs that were mentioned did not fall under the category of obscenity. Obscenity is unprotected speech. These signs were protected speech. So although there may be a goal to somehow regulate signs of a similar nature that are protected speech without being explicitly content-based, it's not that simple. You can't just try to, you're going to cast an overly broad net, which is going to fail because it won't be narrowly tailored anyway. And again, I guess if this is a desire of council, our office is happy to look into something if this is what council wants, but if we were going to do that, we would require some very clear guidance on what exactly council was looking to do if the goal was not to get at a content-based discrimination.
Thank you. We're moving on to public comment. Citizens in the audience will be heard on items not on the agenda, and you have up to 5 minutes. Welcome back.
Just to give you a warning, I'm very tired. I have a newborn. I'm exhausted. Chris Campbell, 528 Green Street, South Haven, Michigan. Just quick on the content-based, I think the issue there was the graphic. I think if somebody had brought up to be vulgar, but a picture of a woman and a man going at it, that would be there's where your content might be questionable, and that I think that would be more of a vulgar issue, but it also could be a safety issue. The graphic, I think, that was involved this weekend it had dead babies, and I think that, is very, if I have my little kids walking with me, I'd prefer not to have to explain what that is, but that's just from this weekend. Okay, but that wasn't from me. I just heard about this. So what I have is based on a busker that we've been dealing with, to the point where we're starting to feel harassed by it. We're finding out that the busker has dispatch app on his phone, so he knows when police are coming. He's getting it to the point where he's almost 90 decibels at our door, and he's across the street. Anyways, here's what I have. Good evening, council members. My name is Chris Campbell. I own Soha Surf Shop, The Shoe Collective, Emma's Boutique in downtown South Haven. I've been a merchant for 20 years now. I'm one of the oldest stores downtown. I'm here tonight to bring up the noise ordinance issue involving amplified music on public walkways, and the ongoing issues we've had with one busker that by now everyone seems to know of. I've emailed some ideas based around other cities, Holland being one of them, East Grand Rapids, Lansing. What started with one busker has now exploded into almost a dozen street performers. Now, mind you, I love music, and I love the sound, but there's a certain level that we've had kids walking by covering their ears. I've had people go behind the store now. We literally can see it clear out when he's playing. He's so loud. We've had ladies, one lady in particular, told me she was pissed. She didn't want to come back downtown. I'm finding more and more people are very frustrated by this, and so I had to bring this to the attention of somebody. We've also had, at this point, somebody even set up a stand to sell jewelry in front of one of the other businesses downtown. The business didn't know. They're a wine shop. And we're like, hey, you guys know about this? They had no clue. I think one thing we're seeing is we're not really enforcing what we do have, and that's a problem. I have actually called about 30 times so far in the last 3 months. So far, this busker has gotten probably at least a dozen warnings, no tickets. If anything, it's empowered him more. So what he likes to do is turn up really loud, his favorite 2 songs to us, and then when the police show up, they're, why are you calling us? We've had the police show up. He turns it down by then because he's got a scanner app. Yet when officers arrive, they actually question us. We're told no one else is complaining. We're the only business that's open at that time. Across the street from the bank, I've got a vacation rental place next to me and a barber shop. So yeah, I'm sure there isn't anyone else complaining. Although I'm hearing other things too. I would like to know at what point we can actually see a ticket from this, because honestly, I've actually had to reference legal counsel at this point to look at an injunction against this person.
You have 1 minute.
Thank you. And so I think what we need to do is reevaluate. South Haven is an outlier with allowing 90 decibels, which is about equivalent of a jackhammer 50 feet away or a rock concert. Holland, Grand Rapids, they all have lower decibel ratings. They have
And what they do is they do not ban buskers, and I don't think we should. But they do put limitations on safety because it is very busy. This is the center of town. So, and they have a 65 to 70 decimal rating, and it's handled through the DDA. So these are just thoughts. I want to get them out there because honestly, I'm running out of ideas. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
My name is Linda Alberry. I'm a full-time resident here at 777 North Shore Drive. First, I'd like to acknowledge that as a city council, you are inundated with a variety of complex issues day to day, week to week. And as such, you depend on your staff, committees, commissions to educate you and guide you in your decision making. And I know that in the coming weeks, you will be reviewing a revised master plan from the Planning Commission. The current draft 2025 takes much of its language from the current process 2018 master plan. However, it does drop some key language in the plan that to me is troubling. That language that's dropped, I cannot find any support by expert guidance, community feedback, based on reviewing all of the meeting minutes between 2018 and 2025. So as a city council, I encourage you that when you do get this draft plan, please ask the commission what's been deleted from 2018 and why. Could be great rationale, probably is, but maybe not all of it. So that's my first request. One of the items in that draft 2025 master plan is the inclusion of mobile homes in the overall plan, but that inclusion lacks specificity and guidance. Whether you call them trailers, mobile homes, or manufactured homes, or something else, they are all the same because they have these things in common. They have a trailer hitch and axles, which means that they can have wheels. They might not, but they can have wheels. And that means they're mobile. And they are not considered permanent homes. So even if they don't have wheels, they are mobile homes. And mobile homes are considered personal property, and owners do not pay property tax. In the state of Michigan, if you own your own home, you pay property tax based on things like location, features, market value, square footage, recent sales, all of the above. For a mobile home, their annual property tax is $35. Yes, you've heard that right, $35. So when you start to consider adding mobile homes to our master plan, you are, in effect, going to significantly reduce the potential of tax revenue, property tax revenue for our city. And of course, that's going to affect your fiduciary responsibility, as I'm sure you know. So I encourage you to do your own research on mobile homes before you get this new plan, because I know that this is a conversation that also kind of dovetails with affordable housing. And I'm not saying that you'll never want to have any mobile homes, but if you start looking at other communities and their plans, their master plans, and how they treat mobile homes, they do it with extreme caution. They allow for mobile homes under strict guidelines. And what I have looked at and what I've seen in other master plans are things like they avoid having these in popular areas, near popular tourist features, near social and business districts. They avoid areas with natural and desirable features that would attract maybe larger homes, which would then provide more property tax revenue. Rather, they look to find land that might be a bridge between industrial areas and residential areas. So again, I just ask that you look and do your own research on the ramifications.
You have 1 minute left.
Thank you. Ramifications of adding a lot of mobile homes to our community. And just picture what would happen if homes along Lake Michigan were torn down and you had mobile homes and what kind of tax revenue you would lose. Finally, There was an act, Act 96, enacted in 1987, the Mobile Home Commission Act. It was established by the state of Michigan. And this act does many things. I suggest you read it. Read it before you get this plan. You will quickly find out that this act takes power from you and puts it in the hands of a centralized committee. So when neighbors complain about things like noise, you can do nothing. When the community deteriorates, you can do nothing. All of this will be in the hands of somebody else and not in our city. So in closing, I realize that I'm asking you to do some homework between now and when you see this plan. For that, I apologize, but thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Susan Shields. I'm at 777 North Shore. And as a 25-plus year taxpayer and voter here, I have big concerns about the proposed zoning changes and development at 120 Baseline. Developing the types of homes that generate an appropriate tax revenue for South Haven is a prime issue. I don't understand how anyone could lean toward deciding to allow manufactured homes that generate a tiny, tiny portion of this revenue. I'm also concerned that according to the BSNA website, the owners of this property are currently delinquent in their 2024 property taxes in the amount of $92,938. This, along with their clear-cutting of that property without the proper permits, does not lead to confidence that these developers could be counted on to handle things properly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello again.
Hello.
Andrea Goodwin Hooker, 963 Kalamazoo Street. First, I would like to thank a lot of the people in the community, as well as the city, for the support that I have been given regarding Pretty. The outpour of support, donations, and stuff is magnificent, and I just want to say I really appreciate it. On a different note, I would like to take a moment to discuss the summer recreation program at Elkinberry Park that is in jeopardy. I wrote up a little something, and I would just like to read it. It says, I would want to take a moment to highlight the incredible success of the summer recreation program at Elkinberry Park. This program has proven to be much more than just daily activities. It has become a place where children, especially minority youth, can come together, be themselves, and feel seen and supported. One special example is a young boy who came to the program not knowing how to ride a bike. By the end of the summer, with the help and encouragement of the other children, he was confidently riding. That moment captures exactly what this program is about: kids uplifting and teaching each other in ways that go beyond the classroom. This summer, we were able to take field trips to the High Bailey Museum, the Cal Haven Compound, as well as the South Haven Center for Arts, exposing our children to history, culture, and new experiences. Families in the community stepped up in a beautiful way when the school unexpectedly discontinued lunches. They donated snacks and food to make sure no children went hungry. Parents also volunteered to chaperone on trips and during our daily activities, truly making this a community effort. One of the most touching parts of the summer was the involvement of a community member that the kids named the Popsicle Man. On his lunch breaks, he would come sit at the park, telling me that seeing the children playing and our presence reminded him the way the community used to be. He began bringing popsicles for the kids every day and even helped us set up and break down water equipment on the last day of summer recreation. This act of kindness brought joy to the children and strengthened the sense of unity at Elkinberry Park. What makes this program special is the culture connection I was able to share with the children. In some ways, I could reach them in ways that teachers or other figures may not be able to, because they saw themselves reflected in me, and I understood their struggles, joys, and dreams firsthand. That bond gave them confidence, consistency, and a safe space to grow. This summer, we had over 25 children registered for the program, and many were very sad when the program ended. Their sadness shows just how important it is to keep this program funded and rooted in our community. It is more than recreation. It's a mentorship, culture, education, and community restoration. I invite each of you to visit the Elkinberg Park Summer Recreation Facebook page to see photos, updates, and firsthand glimpses of the impact this program has made. I strongly urge you to keep the funding and support for this program within our community. Our children deserve safe, positive, and culturally connected spaces like this to thrive. And I also brought with me, as the kids came to the program, I made sure they filled out a registration form to track the demographics as you asked about, and I brought all those registration forms with me, and I would like to share them with you after the meeting. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Yes, just one, please. Hi, my name is Dorothy Sherrod, and I live at 875 Kalamazoo Street. I am a witness to what Ms. Hooker just stated to you. I stand in support of her. I have been at my residence for 44 years. There has always been positive activities for our children, and I hope that you will consider letting it remain. She has done a wonderful job over the summer. I have watched her. I have watched the children. I have watched them come. I have watched them play and be children, be safe, and enjoy themselves. They've had constructive activities that I hope will continue for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe Wilkins, 811 Indiana Street. I just want to mention there is a growing population of homeless that's in our area. Come with that, we've noticed that down Phoenix Street, where you can see there are some mental challenges, issues with several ones that we've noticed on Phoenix. I think those conditions speak and reinforce the need for mental awareness in this area, as well as affordable housing. I believe it's two types of housing that we need. I've sat and listened to several presentations, at least two this year, one by Jim Hettinger. And, I've heard the two different spins on the type of homes, but we really need what we would consider low-income housing, and we need workforce housing. And I'm just asking this staff and the council to see if we can get with the township supervisor to, as he's a stakeholder, I believe he's a stakeholder in this, and see if he would be willing to present something here before city council to try to move this needle forward and getting some type of housing in this area. Now, I've heard over and over again when it comes to getting homes on close to the beach and when it comes to STRs, that horse is out of the barn. And the rumors is that the next council will come and lift the cap on it. Well, if that's the case, if that's what we have planned as a city, to vote for individuals that's going to lift the cap on STRs and forget about the housing condition that we're facing, then I think that's really, really bad for this community, for this city as a whole. We need housing. We need two types of housing, actually three, because I hear a lot of complaints about seniors that can no longer take care of their homes and would like to move into some type of senior complex. They can't cut the grass, they can't do any of that anymore, and things like that anymore. So we need some place for our aging population. As we know, I think Jim mentioned it, that the average age is 61. Now, Jim gave another spin to it and said that comes with great benefits to have an aging population like that in our community. It might bring a lot of benefits, but it also show you where there's some downside to that, also having an aging population. There's no youth. The city will die sooner or later if we don't get young youth or families in here. So we need three type of housing, in my opinion. We need affordable housing, workforce housing, and we need a place for seniors. And so I think that's what it comes down to. It's up to this council and this staff to try to identify the contributors or the stakeholders. Now, Ross Stein has been, I hate to call names, but he's been here. He's heard the presentation. I think it's time for bring him in, stand him before the council, and see what he's willing to do as a township supervisor to help move this needle forward, and anyone else that can help move this needle forward. We still have Overton sitting over there, where a lot of people are starting to doubt if it'll ever take place. I'm hoping that we can move this needle. I think we should start identifying those stakeholders and getting them here and letting them present something to us besides just having presentation after presentation and the needle is not being moved. I am very concerned about the homeless population. Very concerned about the homeless population.
You have 1 minute left.
And I am concerned about this city becoming a city of the have and the have-nots. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Ann Pantalone, 777 North Shore Drive. In the future, I fear you'll be receiving a recommendation from the zoning committee to change the zoning in place for the property at 120 Baseline. That parcel is already zoned for many options without providing a hardship or error in zoning. The owner wants you to change what's already been approved and thought through by you, our city representatives. By changing the zoning to a trailer park, you will be allowing the developer to pay lower taxes, since trailers pay differently than real homes. You will allow them to go around the cap on short-term rentals, which you already have decided should be limited, and you will lose control over the piece of property. Park rules and the city agency will take over. The developers have already gone beyond the scope of the permit. A cease and desist order was issued, and they kept working during that time. They haven't paid their 2024 taxes. Doesn't sound like the type of partner you want, but at least not someone you want to give up control to. The rezoning is not good for the future tax base, health, or safety of South Haven. Please do the right thing and don't allow them to rezone this property. Keep it as it is.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lisa Croupiers, 561 Indiana Avenue. I'm also running for Ward 1 City Council Representative, and I would like to speak about Interim Police Chief DeBoer talking about parking across sidewalks. I do believe that...
Excuse me, point of order. Because Officer DeBoer was on the agenda, wouldn't that have been a comment that should have occurred before the meeting when we had comments on the agenda?
I did not know he was going to be talking about this.
I was on the agenda. I'm asking for point of order.
Sidewalks wasn't on the agenda.
Yeah, that was from my question, so that was completely spontaneous.
Thank you. The reason I'm bringing this up is because, first of all, I think that from what I've observed in my neighborhood, parking across sidewalks is significantly improved from a couple years ago. I think the main offenders, for lack of a better word, are short-term rental occupants who don't know our rules. And I'd like to believe that the short-term rental owners and property managers are sharing the guidelines and rules of the community. This is not only, it's not a nuisance issue, it is a safety issue. I sat on my porch a couple summers ago, and there was a vehicle parked across the sidewalk across the street, and there was a family coming by with a small child who was on a small two-wheeler with training wheels. And so to get onto the, get around the vehicle, they had to go down in the apron of the driveway, which is the section between the sidewalk and the road that has an incline to it. And as the child went into that area, the bike tipped over, and there was some crying and maybe some minor injuries. But that was only happened because the vehicle was parked across the sidewalk. We also know that people come through with wagons, walkers, wheelchairs, and whenever I see a car parked across the sidewalk, I think of that somebody cannot pass through easily, especially if they do have a handicap. Now, from what I understand, this is something that cannot be ticketed easily, correct?
You can't ask questions.
Okay, well, that's what I understood, that it's sort of a different category. So what I am suggesting, and also because of the workload of the officers during the summer, at the beginning of the summer, I suggested the use of the short-term rental hotline. And I believe this is a very, very, very effective use of the hotline. If a parking situation is called in, they're not ticketed anyhow. The police officers, police chief said that they don't really have they seek compliance. So the best method I see is and I would recommend, is to call the short-term rental hotline. The hotline is obligated, since we know they are typically short-term renters, the hotline is obligated to contact the property manager company and to contact the occupant within 45 minutes. So it resolves the situation very effectively in the time that, rather than waiting for an officer. So once again, I haven't checked in the last week or two.
1
Thank
minute
you.
left.
I haven't checked. I don't know if that short-term rental hotline is still on the newsroom, but I would encourage people to use this technique in order to report these, a parking nuisance at any short-term rental, which typically is where they are found. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'm sorry, I just
Oh,
want.
you can only have one comment. I'm sorry.
Good evening. Kent Brindley, 345 Bailey Avenue. Couple of things. I just want to applaud and to thank everyone responsible for allowing the South Haven Veterans Boat Parade to go through last Saturday. It's an annual event that I'm sure everyone enjoys seeing, and I sure hope the veterans who deserve this enjoy themselves. Secondly, I do want to thank Councilperson Hosley for calling attention to the graphic nature of some of the presenters that we can see in town each Sunday on the four corners down there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. So I am from one of the short-term rental companies, so I'm probably not the favorite person tonight. Melissa. Yes, with Shores Vacation Rentals. I agree with the haves and have-nots.
Oh, can you move the microphone so it's right in front of, there you go.
Okay, yeah, I'm kind of short. So I have two things tonight. I came in with just one. I want to give Megan and Luke all the credit. Been a huge help. I know everybody's trying to figure out the direction that we're going and get on the same page. So none of this is in disagreement with anything. I did have a client come in today from the local condos, and they had a concern I didn't have an answer for. So I thought it's something to bring up that we can all get on the same page for. We can't have grills in the condos for the STRs, right? It's a safety issue, is what they said. But I have a client who shares a porch, and the person without an STR can have a grill. So everybody can smell the steaks, see the steaks, watch the steaks cooking, watch them eat them, and they can't do that. So that was something I haven't found an answer to in any of the ordinances, or how to answer that question. It's a good question, isn't it? So, and I'm not arguing, I'm just coming to the table so we can all get on the same thing. So I have a question with that. Does anybody have a suggestion to answer that yet?
Go ahead.
I'm not prepared to speak on that, but if you can talk to us after the meeting and get more information on the nature of the
Yes.
complaints.
Yep.
This may be something we'll have to research, but I really can't comment on it right now.
Yeah, and that's okay with me, because that was new to me as well. So, and I felt for the person that I didn't have the answer for them, right? The second half of that, I know I'm running short on time, is kind of stuff I've taken notes on, because the STRs are not the enemy of the people. I know that there are a couple that may make a lot of money along the, the shoreline or whatever, but that's not the majority. Okay, the majority are family homes who've been in the family, or I have one client, he's got 20 cousins because this has been here for 40 years, right? And they want to see people enjoy it, but they also want to enjoy it. And their profit really doesn't come to that much. I mean, it pays the property taxes and gives each of those time to be able to come and visit. I have some families that they stay with family. They want to pay for their home, and it's an investment while they're, raising their children so that they can have a home when they retire. So it's not an income. And it helps the whole area. I mean, if we cut back a lot on STRs, and I'm coming from a small family-owned business, so I don't know all the other ones yet. I'm just coming to town, but I come as a business consultant into this for years, and I'm looking at it and thinking, okay, you don't want trailers and mobile homes for the working people, or affordable housing for the workers? You're looking at, you don't want to tear those down to put in trailers. You might have to, because you may not have anybody in them, right? I mean, there's a small portion of those that make good money. Those people will be fine. That's their investment. They can resell. What about all your family homes? Because the average people that want affordable housing, when those houses are empty, they can't buy those homes. So now you're looking at a lot of empty homes because you've changed so many things that some of those people are not going to get their STR if they aren't compliant, right? You build a 3-story home with several bedrooms and it has one parking spot and all that past zoning. And later on, that's not going to pass to give that person a license, right? So there's a lot of little things that I'm not really understanding. And I think affordable housing is important. I think that STRs are important. I think it feeds your restaurants, your businesses, your dial-a-rides, your groceries, your everything, right down to the maids, right? All those people need income. So we take those out, we're going to lose a lot of things.
Your time is up. Thank you so much.
Let me get your last name.
Skinner.
Skinner, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Hello, my name is Tom Capps. I'm at 235 Bailey. I'd like to give a couple shout outs, first of all, to South Haven Police Department and Shays. I had a good friend of mine who had a massive heart attack as he was at the Village Market gas station. About 97% blockage in one artery, and he was gone. They came in and knocked out a rear window, and as a matter of fact, this crash, he was pulling into it, went out, hit another car. His vehicle was still in drive. They broke the windshield out, or the rear window, got him to St. Joe, and yesterday he went home. Now, he's not 100%, he's got a long way to go, but without these troops and Shays, he would not be here, so we got to give kudos to those guys. Also, some things that were discussed today that I wanted to come up and give kudos on is, and Joe brought them up, and this is with our Township. They announced here last week a couple great housing projects that they got going. One for seniors, going to be by Senior Services here, over 40, 50 homes, sites or apartments for seniors. And also another site with about 53, and they both approved those. They got grants for that. And I think that's a great step along with what's going on in South Haven. And I agree, we need to get with the city, with the townships, to build more of those. So I think we've got some good steps going, and we just need to continue that. So good work on everybody, including the township, for getting those done. Last but not least, one of the things that I've talked about a little bit, if some people have paid attention, is our hospital situation. We need more medical facilities in this town. And I'm going to give you just a brief example, and it's a little close to home, but my mom is 88 years old, just had a birthday. I was out of town. My brother called. They took her to South Haven. She's gone numerous times. Some of it's her own doing. But she's in the emergency room, and if you ever go there, you know it's about a 5-hour project. She's had the same thing, and she went about 9:30 in the morning, stayed in the emergency room. They said they had rooms for her. She did not get a room until 8 o'clock the next morning. And then they admitted her, and then shortly after that, they kicked her out. It just shows we have a shortage of medical facilities here. We don't have a trauma center, and we don't have rooms to keep anybody that needs it. And I think, I don't know if it's the board's room, but the city of South Haven needs to have better medical stuff. Okay?
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else? If not, we're moving on to city manager's comments.
I've got a few comments. One, I did want to just alert people, Shaw's is still doing hydrant flushing, so if you're seeing a little bit of brown water, just continue to run your faucets. Maybe you have to clean out the trap a little bit. I did want to announce that Nature's Country Cupboard has won a $25,000 grant from the Match on Main program that was offered by Michigan Economic Development Corporation. They're excited for that business. This will allow them to expand and convert some space within their store to add more services, a wellness center and things like that. We've been very successful. The DDA has been very successful with Match on Main. I think this is like our 7th or 8th business that has been awarded a $25,000 grant. I did want to clarify, I've heard a couple times that a certain property may be delinquent on taxes. I do want to clarify that if you see something on BSNA that says that they are delinquent on taxes or they haven't paid, that means we have not received it here in this office. After a certain amount of time, after your taxes are due, if they are not paid here, everything has to go to the county. A person may have paid at county, but it will not show in our BSNA system. The county does not update that. So just because you see it there, then you need to call the county to find out if the taxes actually have been paid. I do want to remind everyone that our next meeting is going to be held Tuesday, not Monday, because that's Labor Day, Tuesday, September 2nd, and we will be having that meeting at Elkenberg Park. And I think we're working with the mayor to provide hot dogs and some fresh refreshments prior to the meeting. So more details to follow on that. As for the master plan, I know that that was seen at the Planning Commission, and they have recommended it to the City Council, but with some changes that had to be made. I think our intention is to bring that to the second meeting in September. Clearly, we're not going to do that at the park. And if that's ready, that will be at the second meeting in September. Those are my comments. Thank you.
We have 5 minutes for questions for Kate.
Kate, first, for the delinquency issue, I had called the county and they still had not been paid as of the Planning Commission meeting. 8/26, Economic Development meeting, correct, here, City Hall?
Correct. We have a listening session with Jim Hettinger in this room.
And that's with businesses. Have businesses been invited?
We've invited some businesses, but we've also heard back from businesses that they would like their own session, so we're looking at a third option.
Okay. And 9/13, we're having a 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. workshop with DHF for lifeguards.
Yes, I do have to certify that that is the time they would like to meet, because that's what I've set up in our calendar, but that is going to be a work session with DHS, September 13th.
Open to the public.
Well, it's an open meeting, yes.
And then just quickly, I had talked to you about the goose poop Riverfront Marina. It had been very, very bad this past week with the concert. did you have a chance to get with your folks?
I did. So normally we are sweeping it and we're watering down the park there, but we did have the irrigation off because of the different events. So we'll get that back on, and of course we put down a goose deterrent, but with it, we haven't been able to do many applications this summer. So the staff have been apprised. We only have 2 more Riverfront concert series, this Thursday and next Thursday. So we'll be in effect out there making sure that we've got that cleaned up.
Super, thanks.
Any other questions for Kate?
I have one.
Go ahead.
Kate, I've been, a friend from Ward 3 was talking about the surf internet being in there, and he said he saw some open holes, and you were going to look into that.
I did.
Maybe you haven't had time yet.
I've already forwarded it on to our engineering staff that is working with Surf Internet. I do know that we've also had a complaint about restorations not being done. My understanding is that they're doing the restorations almost immediately. But if there are individual folks that have concerns, I would say call Public Works 637-0737. Give your address, give any concerns. The other thing is that when you did let me know that there are open holes, I did share that with the engineer that's managing the project, and she'll be going out there tomorrow to just double check.
Okay, good. And you covered the second part about restoration. Surf Internet was here, and I know we talked about it before. They were going through it in phases, and it looks bad for a minute, but they made it look real nice in my neighborhood
Right.
once they finally got done.
Well, eventually, and as you remember, there's like 3 or 4 companies that are working in our right-of-ways right now. Surf Internet, 5 Star, Compton's. We've got a lot of work going on right now.
I do have a question. And this is for concerned residents and some concerned residents in Ward 1 who were anticipating the building of the Overton project. And I think it's been going on for, 3 or 4 years. And so there were some people that were depending on that project to come through. And unfortunately, it has not. So the concern is the dwelling place. They were not real encouraged by the message. And so now people are feeling like, and I'll just say it like this, are you being transparent? Is this really going to happen? And people want to know, if it's not going to happen, what are we going to do? What are going to be some options? Because people need housing. I've had a lot of people coming to me about housing. And, I don't do a lot of talking, but Bishop Wilkins did say something about the haves and the have-nots, and it is bothersome for me, primarily because I'm a very caring person. I'm not that type of selfish person where I only care about my 4 and no more. There are people in this community who are homeless, and I think it's shameful for any person that, for any human being to know people who are homeless and not care. There are some senior citizens who need some housing. There's no place to rent. And you have people in this community who are saying, we don't need any affordable housing. How can you say that when you don't know? Maybe it's not affecting you, but maybe you should ask around. But we need housing, and I know we need housing. And it's not just the people that I know. There's a whole lot of people who are living with other people, and they cannot find anything. One lady said she found something for $1,600. She works at Maria's. So, like the students say, the math is not mathing. So people can't afford that. And I know it's just not a South Haven thing. It is an American thing. But what is South Haven going to do? And people are wanting to know, for you as the city manager, what are you going to do? And to the mayor, they've heard different things that were going to happen, but as of yet, nothing has happened. We see the houses or the townhouses going up right there in Elkinburg, and a lot of people are very disappointed because they're feeling like, okay, so the haves, the buildings go up right away, but the have-nots, nothing is going up. So what is the plan?
Well,
And they want transparency. They don't want to hear promises. We're doing this. We're looking for this. They want to see someone come in and say, the ground is going to be broken on this day. Not we think, not we guess, oh, we got to get back to you. They're tired of hearing that.
Well, frankly, what's happening at Trailside is not the same as what's going to be happening at Overton. That is a private developer that is not looking for state funding from MISTA. They can proceed on their own time frame that we do not. Dwelling Place is a nonprofit. That was kind of the challenge with going with the only entity that was that answered our RFP. They have to jump through a lot more hoops if you're asking for public dollars. And one thing that the Dwelling Place crew was looking at is, one, obviously stormwater on the site, because they had to have a site that was ready to go, that was not subject to any other board action, for them to make an application to MISTA. Now, making an application to MISTA by the October 1 deadline or April 1 deadline, I'm using them roughly, that's still an application for a very competitive program to get those dollars. That's not a guarantee that they're going to get it. And unfortunately, this is where we're at. If you want to have lower income or assistance for either workforce housing, affordable housing, or senior housing, you're going to ask for public dollars to offset that rent, because that is what the market is there. And because you're asking for that, you're going to have to do more hoops. And I think I've talked to at least one other members on council, because you have to show, one, what is your environmental on the program or on the site? Does it match up with what they know? Is there more testing that has to be done? Because this isn't just a private developer. You have to prove to the state that this is a viable site. So I understand the frustration. I was frustrated to hear that they were not going to be able to make the October 1, but I also know they want to have a very complete application. They don't want to, pardon the expression, half-ass it. They want to make sure that this is going to be a very competitive application when they make it, so hopefully we only do one round. But like I said, this is not a guarantee as making an application to MISTA. These are very competitive dollars that change their program every 2 years to change with the conditions that they see around the state. And we would be competing not only against other places around the state, but within the region as well.
So, and I hate to come back, but so basically what you're saying is it's probably not going to happen because it's too difficult. I know you hope that it's going to happen, but it sounds like it's not.
I don't think that it's not going to happen. I want to level set expectations here, that just because you're making an application to MISTA does not mean that you're going to get the dollars. It is a competitive process, and that's why you have to have a very complete, very thorough plan that meets all of their metrics, so you're not coming back and they're going to tell you, oh, you missed one thing, better look 6 months from now. You want to be as complete as possible, and I think that's what they're trying to do. And like I said, they are looking for public dollars to make this go, because we've asked them for some affordability. That was a key priority of this council. And quite frankly, they need to get this portion done before they can do the scattered site housing duplexes on the site. They need to have that anchor with the MISTA dollars for the LIHTC program. And they need to also offset some of the burden of building it. So, I mean, they're a nonprofit. This is what they do, and they've been very successful in other communities. I can see that they've got the wherewithal, but they just want to make sure this is a complete application so that they are more successful the first time around.
Okay, thank you.
It's time for, we're moving on.
I just wanted to add a question on to that.
Okay, do it quick.
I think just piggybacking on Councilperson Wilkins' question about housing, in addition to Overton, I think it would still be good for the community and for council to have other things going. Like, I know we've talked about many different ways that we could increase housing here. So
yes,
I think seeing some action or some timelines for that, especially for affordable housing, would be nice. Or incorporating some of the things that came from Ryan Kilpatrick's presentation before. So just seeing some movement that we can get housing going and not only wait for Overton.
Absolutely. And we meet with developers and other people who are interested in that. It's just sometimes that moves kind of slowly. But yeah, I'm happy to give updates when I can.
Okay, we're moving on to mayor and councilperson's comments. Letitia?
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I've already made my comments. Thank you.
George?
So I want to thank Megan and all her volunteers for a successful primary election. Good job. And thanks to everyone that voted in the primary. That's it.
Thank you. Joe?
Just a quick shout out to the Kiwanis Club. Their mission is to serve children in this community and the surrounding communities. Once a year, they have their pancake breakfast at the Blueberry Festival, and it is by far their most profitable charitable event. And I just want to thank the people in this community and surrounding communities for all the thousands of breakfasts they served in 2 days. Thanks.
Thank you. Mary?
Just want to thank everybody who came out and also give a shout out for Andrea Goodwin Hooker. I've been there, seen the great work she does. All you have to do is give her an idea. She runs with it and knocks it out of the park. So we're very lucky to have people like Andrea, and that's it.
Wendy?
No comment.
I wanted to respond to a couple of things that were said tonight, just quickly. And I want to first apologize to the Scruppiars for using a little snippet of your time. And the mayor misspoke. She said you can't ask questions. That's your time to ask us questions, but not necessarily staff. I mean, you can ask the questions, then we'll find you answers later. But thinking along the lines of the question, and I remember, and I thought of this when the interim chief was talking about parking over the sidewalks. And what I was thinking about was when I was on Parks Commission and we had passed a new ordinance about smoking on the beach. And we were lucky to have Sergeant Griffin in the room at the time because he was a straight shooter. And then we said, well, how would we ever enforce that? You know, and they'll never have time to do that. And Sergeant Griffin finally spoke. He said, if you're telling us that's what you want us to do, we will enforce it. But he said, our primary job is protecting life and property. And we're going to do that first, and then we'll do all the other things next. And I think that's what Officer DeBoer was implying about the sidewalks. While it is important to them, and if we tell them to do it, they'll do it. But life and property comes first, and that's what I got from his comments. The other one, Bishop Wilkins was talking about the potential outcomes of November. Well, Councilperson Wilkins and Councilperson Hosley and I will be here no matter what. I have no intention of revisiting short-term rentals. So I'm not changing anything. We barely had it up and running, so we got to see if it works. I'm not rolling anything back. And then the last comment, Ms. Skinner said Megan and Luke are awesome, and she's correct. They're awesome. Those are my comments.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone who came tonight. And Kate and Michael and I rode on one of the boats for the Veterans Boat Parade. It was so much fun and, you know, so emotional to see all the sport, and the piers were really packed. So thank you to everyone who contributed to that. And if there's no further business, we're adjourned.